And good morning. It is 19 minutes after 7 o'clock, and joining us on the phone this morning here, Leadership Roswell Alumni Association. Of course, they have their annual awards where they recognize some great leaders in our community. And for the Leadership Roswell Alumni Association, for this year's Lifetime Achievement Award winner went to General Douglas Murray, and he is actually joining us on the phone this morning. Good morning, sir. How you doing today?
Good morning, Mike, and good morning to your audience. Thank you for this opportunity. I do want to say thank you to the folks out there that may be listening. I got very many nice remarks on my retirement, and I appreciate all of those. I hope to respond if I can at some point in time. And again, as you mentioned, I do appreciate what Leadership Roswell has done as well.
Well, I know the New Mexico Military Institute, and certainly the Walker Aviation Museum, and many other facets of the community that you're involved with. They're all doing fine, going well, but I know they all sure miss having you around, and we as a community sure would love to see you and your family hanging out from time to time. But we're also happy that you're off enjoying retirement and enjoying the fruits of your labor there.
Well, no, I hope so, and I appreciate your remarks as well. You know, you really take a chance when you put me on the radio because, as I am often told, as an old professor, I speak in only 50-minute periods. So you cut me off at any time, and I'll be happy to see you. So
I have no problem with talking. I like to do that myself. So.
Well, no, you probably talk in 100-minute periods, right?
Yeah. I actually found somebody that's willing to pay me to do it. So.
Oh well, that's good. That's great. They don't do that for me anymore. So
Well, I know for a fact that whatever you spoke, people listened. That was always, you may have a lot of words to say, but everyone wanted to hear every one of them. So.
Yep.
Well, so first off, before we talk a little bit about this, how is life retired now? It's been a few months since since you've left this area. How's retirement been for you?
Well, the bottom line, it has to be fine.
Yeah.
But it's a transformation, and it's a transition. I was mentioning to somebody the other day, every day seems like it's Saturday. And so I haven't worked out the routine yet in terms of what I will be doing. The main thing, as I've mentioned to a number of folks, why it was time to move on from Roswell. It was 15 years that I was there, fantastic 15 years. But I have 7 grandchildren. 2 of them are seniors in high school this year, and 2 are seniors in high school next year. They're getting ready for the next phase in life. And, once they leave high school, they're kind of gone.
Yeah.
And so if I don't catch them now, when do I? So that's primary number one on my list. But we're getting situated. It just takes longer than I thought. Unloading boxes, and siphoning through everything that you've got to siphon through. I had a big office at NMI, and then I had a home, and I had filing cabinets in both. Well, they don't quite fit in a small home.
So you have to downsize a little bit on some of your collecting and things over the years.
Yeah, exactly the case. Well, when we moved here, my wife and when we moved to Roswell, we had 20,000 pounds of household goods. If you took one of those Allied or vans, Mayflower vans, we had the whole van filled, plus what was in behind. It had a hangover, and so we had to really downsize, and so we had a fantastic firm that put together an estate sale,
right?
And probably sold advertised in an auction, and that got 90% of what we had. But it reminded me of you mentioned retirement, because in many ways the estate sale and the retirement go hand in hand, because you're not only giving away or selling whatever, those are your memories those are and there's a legacy involved in that.
Yeah, and it's hard to let go, isn't it? Sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I had the thought that it's probably good that we do an estate sale of our thoughts and lives every once in a while.
Sure. That's a valid point. Yeah.
Discard some that are no longer relevant and focus on some that may lead to the future.
Sure.
So, and the company we had did a very good job as far as that's concerned. But no, to answer your question, we're getting well established here as well.
Well, that's great to hear, and great to see you getting settled in your new home there. Do you miss the day-to-day life of just being at the Institute and getting involved in the various? I mean, obviously your probably schedule has slowed down quite a bit since that time. But do you miss getting up early and going and meeting with cadets and doing your day-to-day at the Institute, or are you still enjoying the vacation side of it?
Well, I think more the latter at this point in time, but like I say, it's Saturday. But no, yes, I mean, that was such a large part of my life.
Sure.
And to some extent that does continue here. But, the 15 years at NMI was preceded by 25 years at the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
And so in many ways, it is a significant change. In fact, all those years, I wore the uniform.
Sure.
I worn that uniform for over 50 years. It's not the same uniform, but
sure.
The uniform. And,
but a lot of the same meanings behind the uniform, even though if it wasn't, if it was a United States military uniform or a New Mexico Military Institute uniform, the values, the work ethic, everything that both represent are exactly the same, I would imagine.
No, it's true. It's true, and it's true. It's true of life in general, regardless of your vocation and your profession.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I do want to. I have a little bit of a surprise for you. It just happened to work out on timing. One of General Murray's passions while he was here in Roswell, spending time with us, was the Walker Aviation Museum, and we just happened to have Robert Sherman, who's going to be in talking about the museum a little later on in the show. And I know you and Robert Sherman have had quite a friendship over the years here, and I thought I'd bring him in for a few minutes and chit chat with you if you don't mind.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Hey, Robert, come on in. He's in the waiting room now. Have him come on in and grab a headset here. How many years were you at the Walker Aviation Museum as well while you were here?
Well, it was probably most of I'd say in the 14 years after the first year. I always kid about it because when I came in, General actually it was Admiral Ellison, who was the superintendent, said, they are building this Walker Museum. There's never been a significant recognition, and they see you coming in. They figured that if you're a general officer, you can get us a B-52 down here. But I failed to do that. We did get a 105, and Robert can tell you all about that as well. But no, it's been a good association. It's been the bedrock of my association with the good folks in Roswell, and an opportunity and fantastic group of folks that started that organization and have really made it what it is. And Robert, of course, is at the lead of that. But to give people an understanding of exactly what the Walker experience, the time frame, and so forth, what the airfield meant then and now.
Well, I can tell you this. First thing Robert told me, he said, "I'm going to give him a hard time. He's too young to retire. He's this youngin' over here." And I got he's actually on the mic here with you. Go ahead and say hi, Rob. Say hi to Doug.
Hey, General, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. You need to tell them about the birthdays when you're talking about age.
Yeah, I told him that. That's why I call you young man, because I'm 36 hours older than you are.
No, that's right. He's
So he's
certainly all I know. Certainly all I know. You'd appreciate this along the same lines. all the years I was at NMI, I was the older generation. There are a few faculty members that have been there for quite some time, though many of those have left in the 15 years, and there's some staff that have been there. But I was certainly the older generation in that environment. Now I must tell you that I've come to Colorado Springs, and I'm in Liberty Heights, which is a retirement community, and all of a sudden I'm no longer the older generation. I think I'm the younger generation.
So I have some. My in-laws they live in a community in Tucson area, and it's very much the same way. A lot of pickleball, and they have a lot of amenities there. And they're the young spry ones now. So welcome to the neighborhood.
Well, I must tell you this story because it's a fantastic group of folks that have been a legacy of all their own. But the gentleman next door to me, he was telling me how he was drafted into the Army in 1942 and spent 27 years in the Army. I said, 1942? Yes, he said. So he's in his 90s now.
Wow.
But he's as spry as ever, and he's got some great stories to tell as well. So it's a learning experience across the table, actually.
Well, good deal. Well, hopefully you got a lot of dinners with neighbors and outings together where y'all can swap stories and be neighbors. That'd be a good thing. So I'm going to put Robert on the spot here. Is there any stories right off the top of your head that stands out about General Murray you can think of, either for Walker or anything, one of those moments, or you're just a General Murray story? Is there anything you can think of off the top of your head?
A General Murray.
Be careful now, Robert.
No, we don't have. Unfortunately, I don't have any really good stories on him. But we spent a lot of time sitting out at hole number 4 at the Nemi Golf Course, waiting for somebody to make a hole-in-one, and during our annual
golf scrambles
fundraiser. Yeah, right. But
I've always enjoyed the Walker Aviation Museum Golf Scramble because I always loved. I mean, we have so many great organizations in our community, and a lot of them do golf scrambles, and it's a great way to help different organizations in our community. But I always kind of, the Walker Aviation Museum, which was always on Armed Forces Day or right around there. Mm-hmm. And so there was always that vibe to it, that military tradition, honor, presence. And you guys even incorporated that even into the golfing side where, you go to golf holes and people would sponsor and put pictures and stories of their family. And so you really, it wasn't just an outing of golfing and raising money for the museum. You came out of it with an afternoon of appreciating some of our veterans and people that came before us and served. And you get those reminders while you're out there golfing and getting focused on the reason we're all whacking a ball around and having fun today. And I always loved that part of the Walker Aviation Museum Golf Scramble. I don't know if that was General Murray's or yourself or whose idea to do those things and that type of stuff.
Well, Bob Donnell was a big player in that.
Yeah.
And Bob Pottle, who's passed away, but he was involved a lot with that.
Sure. I always love that facet of the golf scramble. So
right.
I imagine they're keeping that up here. Do you guys, I know General Murray, you're retired and everything now, but do you still check in from time to time with the museum board and pick their brain, or vice versa, they're picking your brain from time to time here?
I think the plan is we're going to be doing that for sure. But
okay.
Right now we're struggling just to get open, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll hit you with some of that later. But I got to ask, Jeremy, do you miss some of that stuff? Where getting to do the volunteer stuff, or are you getting to? I imagine you're still getting settled there in Colorado, but is that something you want to do once you get settled?
Oh yes. In fact, it's a continuation in many ways of what I was doing at NMI and at the Air Force Academy. I was elected to the board of the first military school in Colorado, if you exclude the Air Force Academy. And it's a school, it's a day school, but it goes K to 12. It's Colorado Military Academy.
Interesting.
And so that keeps me well informed with respect to the importance of a military school. Sometime it might be fun to do a show and talk about what military schools are about, which is all about leadership and so forth. So no, I'm involved with that. Somebody said to me, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I got to be careful because I don't think it's what I'm going to do. It's going to be people who come to me and ask me to do something for them, which I would be more than willing to do." But again, it's a setting up a new schedule. That's really the challenge.
Sure.
But just to keep active, especially with the challenges this nation faces today, like it's never faced before. So,
I've got to ask, looking back at your career, both with the Institute and the military, and just putting it all together, so many years spent molding and shaping and training and teaching leadership to young men and women for so many years, whether it was at the Institute or in the military. I got to ask you personally, what's your favorite aspect of that? Is it the moment with the whoever your student is, be it a military member or a student at the Institute? I mean, what was the part that just did it for you the most? When it comes to teaching, and was it the working with the kids? Was it something else? What was it that I guess you enjoyed the most, or the part that you got the biggest appreciation out of your time working with so many students over the years?
Well, it really is all of those things.
Yeah.
But I think if you were to look at the center of it, it's opening their minds to a world that they will go into, but not just go into it, but to become a part of it and to make a contributions to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever read Wes Moore's book on what a military school and what he learned from a military school. Mm-hmm. But it's awakening them to that reality. And let me just, I spoke at the graduation this year, and here's what I had noted this, and I thought I might bring it to your attention. If you ask me what excites me about the teaching mission, and it's this: it gives the fact that you are inculcating in these young people a life that's more than for themselves. And Westmore says it's the truth that hunts us down, our common calling, that when we answer that call, we'll find that the world's challenges and our own work eventually meet. The place God calls us to is the place where our deepest gladness and the world's deepest hunger meet. To provide that perspective, and it's done in every course in different ways to encourage them to discover the world outside of themselves, but the world inside themselves as well, and to awaken in them a need, a calling to serve others. And gosh, that defines our nation from its earliest days. It defines everything that we do in the world. We don't always succeed, but we have tried. And that I think is shared by everyone who interacts with the generations coming up in their lives.
Sure. And I think, and that's where I think you consider yourself very lucky, is you sat right there in the driver's seat and getting to see those moments where these students as they progress through their education and kind of have those light bulb moments where it all starts making sense. Where I just feel like military and you probably you've seen, I'm sure, this in your time and experience, but military is that very environment for me where you get to see people just change and grow, and because there's no other place on the planet where you can build that camaraderie and that, and just to see that growth. And when you see a group of youth kind of go through those things together, and you see them at the beginning where they can't get out of their own way. And then you know, after just a short period of time, you're starting to see that teamwork gelling process, the understanding of the bigger picture and things. And I imagine for you as an instructor and teacher and so many years working with students, that's got to be the cool moment, the moment where it's like, hey, I wasn't spitting in the wind here. The messages started to sink in. And is that something you got to experience quite a bit in your career?
Yes, I think you do it at every level. And but you know what's kind of cool about all that? It's a two-way street, because you are growing
Sure.
and expanding yourself as the faculty and the staff as well. Mm-hmm. So it really does form the idea of a community that's built around mutual learning. And you know, the changes that have occurred in education and the way in which learning is portrayed and delivered is undergoing significant changes, and COVID-19 has been a major factor in that. You know, when I was growing up so long ago, some people think that I was around in 1891 when the school was founded. Not quite, but you know, if you wanted to read something, you went to this place they called the library. And if you wanted to learn something, you went to this place they called the schoolhouse. Well, you know, we were talking earlier. You don't need to do any of those things, but in that sense, there's been an enrichment of this whole learning process. And it's not just about technology, but there's cautions and there's risk and so forth. But that's all part of it. And so when that question you ask, what I've experienced and what the students experience, it's a universal experience if you're engaged in learning. Mm-hmm. And that can be in the classroom, but it can be in many other ways and in many other professions. I mean, really, you're part of that process as well, especially now with the technology and how people learn and understand the world.
Yeah, that's always been my, and I don't want to get peeling back the curtain here, but that's always been the method to my madness with this radio show. I figure I love to get great people like yourself and Robert here and let the public know what's going on and happening in their community. But if I dangle the carrot of me telling dumb jokes and things, and that's what gets you here to hear me tell stupid jokes, and then you accidentally learn about all this great stuff happening in our community, then I call that a win. That's the way I look at this show. And in many ways, education's kind of like, you know, you get them in, they got to be here, but once they're here and you got them, I mean, that's the coolest feeling in the world, I would imagine.
No, yes, it certainly is.
Yeah,
it's a mutual feeling.
So I gotta ask here, as far as you know, your plans and things now. Like you said, you're getting settled here and all that. But obviously, you have lots of friends and folks back home here. Do you get is travel in the cards for your future plans as well?
Oh yes, I do hope to travel. In fact, I thought I might be in Roswell at this very date when they were talking about the good folks that for the Leadership Roswell, they were going to have an event.
Yeah, unfortunately, COVID's put a damper on a lot of that. So
yes, and again, I was also scheduled to go to Texas later this month. The Association of Military Colleges and Schools, which is all of the military schools except your federal service academies.
Okay.
And it includes your senior military schools like Texas A&M and Citadel, and the junior military colleges like NMMI and Valley Forge. Mm-hmm. And then there's about 30 what you might call secondary education. They have a big workshop in every year in September, and they always think they're always looking for somebody on the bench, but I get an opportunity every year to put this workshop on.
Oh, okay.
What it means, basically what we're talking about. Well, guess what? It was scheduled for next month. The end of this month. They bring in the new leadership across the country, the new leadership of military schools across the country.
Okay.
But then with this outbreak of COVID in Texas right now, they're going to do a Zoom presentation. But no, I do hope to do travel. I do hope to do some, vacation type travel and go some places that I've not had a chance to go and take the grandkids. They can help the old man up and down the steps.
That's right. Get them to work.
That's right.
You were mentioning the various, the military schools and things, and I grew up originally in the Maryland, Washington D.C. area, and but one of the things I did when I was an older teen, I was involved in scouting, Boy Scouts, and everything growing up. And I would work in a summer camp there in the summers in Virginia. And it was a summer camp that was about 15 minutes from a town called Lexington, Virginia. And as you probably know, General Murray, home of Stonewall Jackson and things like that, but also home to the Virginia Military Institute. And that was one of my first exposures of seeing what life was like at a military school and seeing what a community that supports a place like that. And that's a beautiful school. I don't know if you've ever been to that area or been to that institute, but you just, when you were talking about Citadel and some of that, it just kind of reminded me of some of those experiences. And that's a beautiful campus too. But
well, as you know, I was born and raised in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I did my undergraduate work at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So Washington, D.C. is still one of my favorite cities. And, of course, in the military, I was stationed at the Pentagon as well. So
I figured you had time in that area.
And also, as part of the Association of Military Colleges and Schools, it does bring me on some of those campuses, and VMI has been one of those. In fact, our oldest son, when he was looking at colleges, we visited the campus and got tours of the campus and so forth.
Okay.
It's an outstanding institution, as is, and as are, I should say, any of those senior military schools.
Absolutely. And that's actually very, very much a college town, Lexington, Virginia, because not only is it home to the Virginia Military Institute, but it's also home to Washington and Lee University. It's a very historic town. A couple famous Civil War generals are buried there. Robert E. Lee's there, Stonewall Jackson. Matter of fact, if I remember, Jackson's on the VMI campus, if I remember right. I don't quote me on that, but anyway, there's a lot of history there too. It's just a beautiful area. But you just had mentioned that, and it kind of triggered that thought in my head. Of
course, that's a wonderful part of the country. My home state of New Jersey has really been having, as New York has. It was quite startling. In fact, I was speaking to one of the members of the community here, and she mentioned that she was from New Jersey, and it was that day after the storm, and she was not aware of the damage. We have damage from hurricanes all the time. We've got to expect those, but the tornadoes brought a new dimension to all of that.
Sure.
But, that's a good for the country. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just saw the time. We probably need to wrap up this conversation, and I imagine you've got some grandkids and some other things ready that need your attention right now. So,
well, that keeps me busy. On Monday, I went to a volleyball game with one. And Tuesday, I went to a tennis match for another. Wednesday, I went to a third volleyball game. And Friday, I went to a cross-country meet. So it does keep me busy, which is great.
Good. Are you a sports fan in general?
Well, Yeah.
Well, that'll
Yeah,
make it
exactly.
easier for you. If you're not a sports fan, it's a little rough to go to all those things. But if
As
you like
long
sports,
as long as they don't ask me to come off the bench and join the game, I'm
there
all
you
right.
go. Yeah. I think those youngins probably got the leg strength to keep it going, especially cross country. I get tired watching those kids. General,
Yeah.
before we let you get back to, is there anything that you wanted to mention that we just skipped over or didn't get a chance to address?
No, I've enjoyed the conversation, and my appreciation to you, sir, for what you do, and for the city of Roswell, and an important part of Roswell, of NMI, and that whole community is always a part, and will always be a part of me, and I'm sincere when I say that.
Well, we are.
And I hope that I have left something to you all that you will find of value as well.
Well,
and I could talk for hours if you like on all kinds of subjects, but I would rather just leave it at that to say, look, I love that place, and I love the folks who live there and work there. And my accomplishments, reflected in this award, was a very humbling experience, but it was also very pleasing, not because of me, but because I recognize that my achievements, whatever they may be, only were the result of those with whom I worked, played, and loved over the 15 years that I was there. Those on the campus and those off the campus, those in the city. Roswell, I always said, is the real story of Roswell is not the UFOs, but it's the commitment of the people of that town to the nation and to serve the nation, beginning back with Walker. The fact that you mentioned Walker, but continues on, to this very day. It's hard. I've often said that the number of events that occur on Veterans Day in Roswell is unbelievable, but it's merely a reflection of that community. And, I'm not running for office. Or somebody said I'm almost old enough to run for president. But
well, I know
I'm
exactly what you mean. You're right. We have a great group of people that if there's a crisis or if someone needs help, they step up and do it. And it's the same people that, like you said, we honor our veterans. And yeah, you're right. It's just our schools alone, our high schools, middle schools, and the institute. Obviously, the things they do for our veterans on Veterans Day. It is an amazing. And you're right. It's very much an indicator of the fabric of our community. And I would also say that it's that way because of people like you being a part of it. And I know you're greatly missed by my many folks here in this community, and would love to have you come in and do your thing. But also, you leave a community better off than when you came, I think, because of the actions and the things and the connections you've made here. So we're better because of you, and we do appreciate that. And don't be a stranger, because Robert said he's got a list of stuff over at the museum he's ready for you to knock out and do all that. So.
Yeah, we really miss you here, General.
I look forward to it, and all blessings of all kinds to all of you. God bless.
Take care to yourself, too, and you and your family. Have an awesome weekend. And, General, if you're popping in for a visit, don't hesitate to come pop on the radio, too. I'd love to have a face-to-face conversation with you. Those are always fun. So.
You need to call me Doug. I'm too old.
I will do my best, but once something gets ingrained in my brain, it takes an act of Congress to get it out of there sometimes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, and take care.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Robert.
See you later. Bye.
Take care. All right, that was General Douglas Murray. Doug, I can't help it. It's just the way it is. And he was or is the LRAA Leadership Roswell Alumni Association's Lifetime Achievement Award winner here for this.
Well
event.
deserved.
Well deserved, and it was a beautiful. It was great. It was great to have that conversation. I hope we get to have more with him.